Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene. My name is Mike Smith, and with me is Bradley Hargis. Again, we are, of course, this now August, and August, of course, is going to be very, very hot. Not only in the temperature, and also in the sports scene, as college football, high school football, and various other sports are heating up, of course, here as well. And of course, our concerns go out to those who have suffered the flooding in Chattanooga. I think about 6.5 inches of rain yesterday caused a lot of flooding, particularly on the interstates. We hope that most people made it through it all. I have cousins, relatives down in Chattanooga as well. Of course, what we're going to do is talk about sports, and of course, the first thing up is high school sports, and of course, in 9 more days is going to be football time in Bledsoe County, as Bledsoe County will take on Sequatchie County at Dunlap. Now, ordinarily be talking jamboree, but there is no jamboree this year due to the fact that there were a lack of teams participating in it. Only 3, I believe, was scheduled in: Bledsoe, Sequatchie, and Grundy, and so it was decided not to have the jamboree this year. The first time in 5 years that has occurred, and. But Bledsoe County, of course, comes off 11-2 season. They're going to take on an 11-2 Sequatchie County team, which came very close to making it to the state championship game in Chattanooga. Bledsoe made it to the third round for the first time, but lost to York Institute, which ended up losing to Marion County, which Marion County won the state title, and which Bledsoe County will be playing this year. Both teams, of course. But it's going to be a very interesting season. Of course, Dwayne Tabor, 51-19. He's just 4 wins this season to tie Dickie Brown, and 5 to surpass him as the third winningest coach in Bledsoe County history. He's actually first in the number of wins, fastest number of wins in a certain time, and that's 6 seasons. Bradley, Bledsoe County, of course, got to replace a lot of good players off their teams the past 4 years. And that's normally it would be a concern, but way Tabor is, he's restocking.
We've had a lot of 4-year starters. I mean, that's now gone, and you've built a program that has the depth to someone just come in when somebody leaves, and that's what Tabor has done. Bledsoe, they've still got some skill players back. They've still got some good guys that can get out there and move the ball and catch the ball, and even the defense is still going to be pretty stout. But having to replace a quarterback, that's going to be a challenge, obviously, and losing quite a bit off the line, defense and offense, is going to be a challenge. But I have faith in Tabor, and I have faith in the guys. Hearing things of what they did in regards to the scrimmages here in the past few weeks, they performed well in a scrimmage. They got to grow up a little bit on the line, but it's young, and they're going to have to get some maturity about them, and that will come. Give them 2 or 3 games, get it under their belt, and I think they'll be all right. I think Coach Tabor and company will have the right people in the right place to make some good strides this year, and I look for Bledsoe County to surprise a few people this year.
Obviously, they're going to have to do it fairly quickly because Sequatchie County is the first team on the agenda, and Sequatchie County, of course, always got Bledsoe circled around as their game of the year. Of course, remember this right now: Bledsoe is 3-3 in the last 6 seasons against Sequatchie County, but all 3 of those wins were at home. All 3 of the losses were on the road. And if Tabor really wants to take that step up, he's got to win at Dunlap. And that, if you do that, then obviously that's going to bode well for your program. Lose, and you might play a little bit of a catch-up. Remember last year, Bledsoe County and Sequatchie County took a battle in John Boynton Knight, and Bledsoe won 20-13. I think they had a record-setting crowd there. I know because It took me 45 minutes to get out of that parking lot.
A lot of people there last year.
I think some said close to 7,000. So you saw the cars parked all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So obviously that's a big rivalry, since Marion and South Pittsburgh are no longer playing each other. So that's the biggest rivalry outside the Chattanooga area, Chattanooga, Hamilton County area. As they will, of course, will battle it out here tonight as well. And of course, the first home game will be on the 29th against Whitwell. And Whitwell, of course, another one of those teams that in the past few years has actually has had some good talent. They've won a state title, remember, several years ago. And last year they they came in undefeated and ranked, and Buttsville County beat them on their home field.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting.
Looking at the prediction as far as the region that we're in, of course, we lost Tellico and Polk and Oneida, and we gained Monterey, Marion, and Grundy. So in our region this year, it's Marion, York, Bledsoe, Grundy, Monterey. Those 5 teams, and from all I can see, as far as the computer rankings, as far as looking at the On 3 rankings, the Rivals, Sonny Moore, the computer rankings, everything, or the Massey rankings, everything that I can find ranking-wise has a prediction of finish in this order: Marion, York, Bledsoe, Monterey, Grundy. Now, I agree with that, except Bledsoe and York, and here's why. Because if you look at the ratings are almost identical. They're within 2 or 3 points on the Massey rating. From the York has a better offense, Bledsoe has a better defense. Computer rankings, York has a 129.18, Bledsoe is a 121.72. Sonny Moore has York at 30 points. Bledsoe is at 51. The Rivals has York at 122 and Bledsoe at 133. So again, if you look at those, and I mean we're talking, teams that are separated. If you're within 20 points of the team above you and below you, you're even. You're pretty even. So on paper, York has the edge, but I've got Bledsoe beating York, and the reason I have that because they're so close in regards to statistics, to probability. I mean, you look at the win probability percentage. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, York 53, Bledsoe 47. So I mean, they're right there. They're neck and neck, and because of that, I have to give the advantage of a home field. Factor that in. And I have to give Bledsoe County the edge on that. Even if I weren't a Bledsoe County fan, home field advantage when it's dead even is something that pushes you over the top. Now, if Bledsoe can be healthy, that's the case. Bledsoe and York will have to be healthy for this game because Bledsoe plays Sequatchie, Whitwell, travels to Oneida, travels to Tellico, and then we come back home to play York in that 5th game. So. York, they've got their work cut out for them too, because they start out with Stone Memorial, then they play White County and Meigs County. They're at Livingston, and then they travel down the valley here to us. So they have a pretty tough row to hoe the first 4 games too. So they're going to have to stay healthy. Bledsoe's going to have to stay healthy, and if that be the case, again, home field advantage. It teeters more, in my opinion, toward Bledsoe County, but it's going to be a dogfight at Game 5. I can tell you that because there's a score to settle on both ends. We're tired of what happened last year, and York's tired of hearing about it. So I mean, I'm sure that might be a little extracurricular activities on the field when we play them. I hope not, but it's very possible.
Of course, you look at Marion York. That's going to be a rematch of the semifinal game, which Marion won easily after York basically just beat us the week before, and Marion went on to win the state title. So really you have to look at it this way right now. Now, to be honest with you, I look at it a little differently. I'm picking Marion first. I'm picking Bledsoe second. I'm picking York third, Monterey fourth, and Grundy fifth. Now
that's what I have.
Now here's the kicker. Grundy actually had a pretty good team last year. Mm-hmm. They could turn around and surprise a couple teams. Probably they won't beat Marion. I'm almost dead certain of that. They could beat Monterey, and York could slip up. Now York, after that season, after the Bledsoe game, probably is going to be a little bit beat up, and probably could lose to Grundy. Now if that happens, this could go like this. This could be Marion, Bledsoe, Grundy, Monterey, York. It just depends. Now, like I said, it's like I said. This is my my take on the things. It just anyway, like I said, anything can happen
Sure.
at any time. Anything can go this way. You remember, because remember, Tellico Plains last year won 7 games and looked very good in the first round, beating South Green, and then they go in there and they figured, well, we got Bledsoe's number. What happened was Bledsoe ended up dialing up their number and shut them out twice before. Now, of course,
Right.
Bledsoe County goes to Tellico to play the Bears, if you maybe. You get it out of the way. Play the Bears.
Well,
And,
I think toward the end of the season, the reason that I think, of course, Marion plays York at the very final game of the season, October 30th. That's on a Thursday. That's when we play Monterey at home. We host them. But I think, as far as the strength of schedule is concerned, York has a tougher schedule because they obviously they've scheduled bigger schools: Stone Memorial, White County, Livingston, DeKalb, Upperman. Outside of their region schedule, they have a tougher schedule. They actually have the 9th toughest schedule in the state. Bledsoe is 14th and Marion 19th. If you want to get technical about that, but Marion and the Marion County and York game at the end of the season, it could come down to whoever wins that game could definitely is going to be first, more than likely, and the loser, because of the way things have played out, as you mentioned a while ago, how things can happen, it could very well be that York, the loser, falls to third, depending upon how everything else. But really, I don't want to leave that in the hands of Monterey. Of York and Marion. I want Bledsoe County to take care of business on their own. And that's what I know Coach Tabor's trying to instill in those guys, to get things done. Know your assignment and get the job done on the field. That way we don't have to wait to the end of the season to figure out whether we're second, third, or whatever. We can just take care of business and be there. Marion is going to be a tough team to beat. They returned a lot of starters this year. They got a lot of talent on both sides of the field, or both sides of the ball. They have speed. They look kind of like the Marion County of old in some ways. They're fast. They're fast. They're trained good. They practice well, and the team has gelled together. They're doing a fine job down in Jasper of getting those guys back on track. Won a state title coming off of that high. Certainly going to be a big factor as the season progresses. Going back to our first game, Bledsoe County, based on statistics, and again, home field advantage, Sequatchie County 69% win probability over Bledsoe County in the first. The actual score prediction, based on AI and things like that, because that's the big thing today.
Yeah.
They have a prediction of Bledsoe losing to Sequatchie 28-18. Plausible, possible.
It's possible.
Might be. But again, when those two teams play, you can throw out stats, you can throw out records, you can throw out AI, you can throw out anything you want to, because those two teams, when they play each other, it's going to be a dead heat. It's going to be close. So I look for both teams to try to really show out in the first game of the season and set the tone for the rest of the season, really.
Well, it's salaries. Now, one thing Bledsoe County has done this year is widen the press box. Have made the press box a little bigger. They've down the other side where we sit, they have put in a new section of press box similar to the one that they have, which is the walkway. And I hope somehow maybe Jason has cut a door so that we make it easier for us to get up there instead of using the old block and tackle, or put an elevator in or something like that. But that's good. Of course, that's probably for the visiting coaches and that sort of thing. And not a bad way to go. So basically, they widened the press box. So again, the quarterback club has pitched in and done the thing and brought in, and it actually has stairs you can walk up on the outside. So maybe if he put the door in, maybe he has. I hope he has. We can be able to get into the press box a lot easier than we have before. But a lot of things. Now, of course, talk about things. You and I, we saw something on Facebook. A high school in Georgia opened a $63 million football stadium. $63 million. This has 10,000 seats. What is 15 luxury boxes, the big screen, this sort of thing.
It looks. I mean, it looks like a small college campus field. I mean, that's what it would rival. I mean, it's bigger than Tennessee Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sure. as far as it being so nice, it is crazy that the city has poured into this community. They have poured $62 million into a high school football stadium.
Well, they said they're going to use it for other.
They are the only high school in that county, so that makes it easier.
Yeah.
If you're wondering where Buford, Georgia is, it is a little north and a little bit east of Atlanta. It's on the outskirts of Atlanta.
Yeah.
But still, the money's there, and they poured it into that. They're going to use it for concerts and other things like. But right now, it's primarily for varsity football. And
artificial turf, the whole 10-yard.
Oh, I'm telling you, get on there and look at Buford High School, and you can in Georgia, and you can see the pictures of how it's a pretty stadium. Don't get me wrong.
I like it.
It's brand spanking new. They better win the state championship for the next 30 years.
I think that we need to schedule a game with Buford. Go down there and play. I would have loved to go in there and take a look at that.
If we're driving to Oneida, we might as well drive to Atlanta. I mean, same difference.
At least we'll know we'll be going to a fine facility. To be honest, of course, this is Team 99. Next year will be the centennial of Bledsoe County football, and I think is that hopefully they're planning some sort of celebration on that. The 100 years of Bledsoe County football. And no, I did not do the first game. I'm sorry, Bradley. Did not do the first game. So,
were you out of town or something?
No, I don't think I was even born. My dad wasn't even born. My dad wasn't even born until a year afterwards.
I didn't think you had missed a game, Mike.
You know how it is. My dad wasn't even born until 1927. So the same year that high school opened up. But that's 100 years.
Yeah.
And the shame about it is that the guy who started it, E.H. Beck, just has a road on near Brayton named after him. That's it. Have some sort of thing named after him. The press box or something named after Doc Beck. I think that should be something that they should consider. After all, he did start it. He planted the seed, and it grew into giant football players. So, like that. So, Warrior for Life, I think that is important. I think Jason hopefully might come up with something next year to celebrate this 100 years of Bledsoe County football. That sort of thing. I mean, it's important. I mean, the community gets behind it. Back in those days, you had. The roads weren't that good, to be honest with you. Right now, it's sort of thing, and getting to games was not easy.
Uphill both ways.
Both
in
ways.
The snow.
That's about both ways. Yeah, it's snow. I don't know if they played in the snow, but it probably would have been better. Bledsoe didn't even have a field in 1953. Tells you how it is.
Yeah.
But that would be a good start. So Team 99 will start on the 22nd. At Sequatchie County, and then we'll be back home against York. Back home against we're getting ahead of ourselves. Then against Oneida, Bledsoe could conceivably go into the York game 5-0.
It's very possible. Well, go in at least go in 4-0, going into the York game. The travel to Oneida and travel to Tellico, man, it's a long way. But I mean. I thought maybe this year we'd get to stay at home, have them come here. But anyway, I had the region worked out. But going back to Oneida, up there where the Indians roam, and
the Orange Indians roam.
Throw a stone into Kentucky from where we're at the stadium, and then Tellico, you throw a stone into North Carolina where you're at. So
Tellico and Polk County.
Yeah,
Polk County will be here at home, but. To be honest with you, right now you look at it this way. Of course, we're not only have high school football, we're also going to have volleyball. Volleyball. That's going to be starting up. That's the usual thing. And then of course basketball, and then the spring sports will come after that. Okay, everybody, we're going to go to a break, and then we will be back. We'll talk about the college football season, which is about ready to start in about a week and a half. And, of course, Tennessee, of course, going to open up the season at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, playing Syracuse. As you're listening to the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110, Pikeville, Tennessee.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
A good bank has people you can depend on, people who grew up here and can handle today's issues and growing technology. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, this is the way we've served the community for almost 50 years. Ready to help you in person, online, and on our app whenever you need it. Choose the bank that cares about you. Citizens Tri-County Bank, the only community bank you'll ever need.
Support small business and shop DunlapMercantile.com.
Okay, we're back. We're going to go to the college football, which is due to start probably around the 22nd. Some of the smaller schools will start a little earlier than the bigger schools. But, of course, Labor Day weekend, of course, is full of football games. You'll see a lot of them on TV, including one which affects fans around here. Tennessee will be at, I was thinking the Georgia Dome, but the Georgia Dome isn't there anymore. What's that? Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Stadium.
They're going to take on Syracuse, the Orangemen of Syracuse, which Tennessee and Syracuse have had a history of, as this will be the fourth game, the time they've met. The first back in 1966 in the Gator Bowl, where Tennessee won 18-12. Tennessee shot out to an 18-0 lead, and then someone said, well, Syracuse will have to come out passing, and did, and scored 12 points, but not enough. And then in 1998, Tennessee won on a last-second field goal to win over Syracuse 34-33 at the Carrier Dome. That Carrier Dome was not air-conditioned, by the way. And Tennessee went on to win the national title, and then in 2001, Tennessee won 33-9 at Knoxville. So obviously it's going to be interesting. AP has Tennessee at number 24 in the polls. Syracuse did get some votes. Actually, 10 SEC teams are in the poll. That is a record.
Unheard
10 out of 16.
Yes.
And four others have gotten votes, like Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt getting some votes. Texas number 1 in preseason for the first time ever. Georgia, I believe, is number 5 in the nation. Clemson is ahead of them. South Carolina 13th, Alabama 8th. Ole Miss is I think 21st. And Tennessee's 24th.
A&M is 19th. Oklahoma's 18th. And Florida's 15th. I mean, they just keep right on coming.
I cannot see South Carolina that high up. I just cannot. I'm sorry to say it. I have chicken for dinner, of course, but the bones tell me so that South Carolina is not as good as they think they are.
Tennessee's 24th in the AP, but they're 18th in the coaches. They don't really change. Both Texas is the number 1 in both.
Yeah,
obviously. Penn State started the initial poll that came out. They had Penn State at number 1. Penn State dropped to number 2 in AP 25, and they're number 3 in the coaches' poll. Ohio State flip-flopped with them. And, it's way too early. Obviously, you're looking at, what they got on the transfer portal, what they're bringing back, what they lost. You're figuring all those things in. And by what you see on paper, that's how good the teams should be. But you and I both know that's not always how that works out.
Yeah.
Tennessee is just like really got a question mark on them because of the quarterback issue that they had during the offseason. Aguilar or Merklinger or McIntyre.
McIntyre is not going to be the starter.
They
already made that clear. He's not. He's going to be more or less probably redshirted, or he'll be basically a backup.
So we do have those 3 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Merck plays pretty well. He raised some eyebrows in the spring, and even in the summer workouts. But Aguilar, being is probably going to have the more experience, probably going to be your QB1 going into the season, and that's really the big question.
Well, he's only going to be there for 1 year, so he basically is at.
That's really the big question around Tennessee football is what they returned. I think the stats is 39% of its offensive production, which is not that much considering. But having the offensive line, we lost a lot off of that, but getting some in on the transfer portal didn't make much noise in the offseason in regards to transfers. But that shows me that I think Heupel and company are confident in who they have, and building that team around the core that they have already there, and that says a lot. That says a lot. Aguilar comes in from UCLA. He has some experience with Appalachian State and with UCLA last year, throwing 56 touchdown passes in the past 2 seasons. So, he's got the arm, he's got the knowledge, and he's got the experience. Can he come in and learn Heupel's offense quick enough to make waves? And it could be a surprise. Tennessee might come in and may overperform this year. It's very possible. And again, they may be as good as they were last year, or no better. We just don't know. But one thing's for certain, everybody is excited for this season to get here. I'm getting the football fever. I'm ready for high school football. I'm ready for college football. I'm already setting my schedule up to where I can make sure I'm at home on certain days and don't nobody bother me on those days that Tennessee plays Alabama and Georgia and all those teams, because I'll be watching that ball game and seeing how that plays out. Tennessee does have some preseason watch lists for awards. Arian Carter and Jermod McCoy, they're selected as a watch list on the Bednarik Award. That's in the secondary, defensive secondary. And a matter of fact, Jermod McCoy left in the transfer, but he ended up coming out of the portal and coming back. He is a 2025 preseason football All-American.
Oh, that's no bad deal.
So that's good for Tennessee, and there's a lot of buzz around the team. Tennessee's got a tight end that's also on a watch list for the best tight end in the country award. So that's something we got to watch too. And as far as all the analysts and things like that, ESPN specifically, they went back and they look at who's going to have a breakout year. A breakout year for second-year players, and 2 Tennessee Vols made that list. Both of them receivers, Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley. Both receivers are expected to just have an astronomical year. So we know that Aguilar and Merklinger's got targets. They have targets. Brazil is back. Got a little trouble with driving on a suspended license, but he's supposed to be there, and so he's going to have the targets. Can Tennessee do it? Can Tennessee hit them? That's going to be the key there. But nonetheless, there is a buzz. Even though Tennessee is picked low in the polls, there's a buzz around them as far as the players who are going to be stepping up and making a name for themselves this year.
About college football, you hear a lot of stuff going on. That thing now, there is a thing going around that North Carolina has reached an agreement with the SEC to become a member of the Southeastern Conference around 2030 or 2031, because basically the buyout would be lower. than other that. Now, of course, they won't just take North Carolina. They'll have to have another team go into bounds at 18. And some rumors going on it's Florida State or Virginia Tech or even North Carolina State as one of those teams in there. But North Carolina, of course, apparently that's sort of disenchanted with the ACC right now, which they are currently a member. And that would be an interesting thing. You have a Tennessee-North Carolina series like you used to have it before they discontinued it in the 1960s. Again, a lot of things here. Now, of course, another crazy deal is I was listening to a podcast about Big Ten football, and this is something that they brought up. Now, a couple of months ago, I mentioned that some student newspaper in Alabama wanted Tennessee to be in Vanderbilt to be kicked out of the SEC, apparently over NIL. And of course, the SEC commissioner said, "No, that ain't going to happen." Okay, now the guy said, "Look, it's not going to happen. What if Tennessee got kicked out of the conference? Would they be a good fit in the Big Ten?" And the guy said, "Yes, he would, because you would have a team." Now, according to a sort of an agreement reached between the Big Ten and the SEC, is that the SEC is going to go to 9 conference games in a couple of years. And what they're going to do is basically to keep the rivalries, such as Tennessee, Alabama. If they kept it at 8, they would end up losing those rivalries eventually. Right. And what would happen is that they would have one regular season SEC versus Big Ten. Each team would play off against an opponent from the Big Ten every year. And of course, be interesting, Tennessee, Michigan at Knoxville, or Tennessee and Michigan at the Big House, or Ohio State coming to Knoxville and finding out what life is like on the other end of the scoreboard, but that sort of thing. And Tennessee, of course, has put some teams on their schedule, non-conference teams on their schedule. Georgia Tech next year, and first time ever, Tennessee State will play the Vols. Now, supposedly it's going to be in Knoxville, but what it is that they want to play it at Nashville in the new Titans Stadium when that gets finished up. Sort of break it in, so to speak. Yeah. And I think Tennessee's seriously considering that. Tennessee State, of course, is a historic black college, and that's and they want to start playing the big boys. Grambling, that sort of thing. Yeah, there was actually a talk about Grambling playing Alabama when Bear Bryant and Robertson was playing, because they were friends, and they said we never could get around to scheduling a game. That would have been interesting, Grambling and Alabama. So
well, you mentioned North Carolina a while ago, and there's an interesting story going around with North Carolina Tar Heels right now, especially with the football, because obviously, if you hadn't already figured it out, Bill Belichick is their head coach. 6-time Super Bowl winning coach is now the head coach at UNC. Last year, their quarterback, Max Johnson, broke his femur in a ball game. Yeah. Obviously was out for the season. Yeah. Had to have surgery. Did the rehab. He's expected to be back. Yeah. And the big question is, the headline was, can UNC quarterback Max Johnson keep the dream alive? And there was an interview, I read through the interview, and it was really, really neat, the things and struggles that he's had to deal with off the field, not just with the injury, other things, and he's still persevered and went through them. So, as crazy as it may be, obviously Tennessee is my team, but I'm cheering for the guy. I want him to succeed. He's got some big shoes to fill. North Carolina's had 2 great quarterbacks come through their system in the last few years, one of which is Drake May, who's the starter for New England Patriots right now. Right. But he's got some big shoes to fill, and he's wanting to get back in. I think he has one more year. And coming off that injury, coming back into the system that has Bill Belichick at the helm as a coach, things may look good for him in this year, and I hope they do. I hope they do very well. Not because I'm a Tar Heel fan, but because I'm a fan of the story that we read about Max Johnson, and I hope that guy has a good year, stays healthy, and has a stellar year with the UNC Tar Heels. I think that's going to be a fun thing to watch this year outside of the SEC.
One thing Tennessee fans are probably watching is that Peyton Manning, son Matthew, has transferred from a school in Colorado to Baylor School in Chattanooga, and that's a top right private school. As a day student, and of course the kid's only about 14 years old, I think, and people say, well, maybe Tennessee will get him. Well, the problem was, I don't think is that Matthew Manning. Now I've got nothing against the kid. Matthew Manning is not a good fit in the system right now with Josh Heupel, because really his is a quick read, where Matthew Manning is more of a guy who wants to really sort of take his time about calling out the play. Though there's some thing that he may change his mind, or he may he may adopt to a more of a quick read. But Matthew Manning, of course, Peyton Manning's son, that they've had videos of him throwing long passes like his father. He's quite capable of hitting the target. So he's got the pedigree. And Baylor is a top right school. Can you get it to any school? So would Matthew go to Ole Miss, his grandfather's alma mater? Would he go to Texas like his cousin Arch Manning? And of course, Arch Manning's last year at Texas, I believe. Too bad we're gonna get a miss on him. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sort of thing.
I think it's going to be watching this kid develop. I mean, the main thing that we need to realize is he is Peyton Manning's son, not Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning, arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever play the game, at least cerebrally. He knew more about football in the game. He was, nobody could out-prepare him. I mean, he knew how to survey the field. Peyton was a pocket passer. Obviously, he wasn't a runner. He was a pocket passer. He was one of those that surveyed the field and threaded the needle. That's the kind of thing that he did. And, of course, he threaded the needle a lot throwing ducks, because the tight spiral was something he didn't really make a point to do, but he threw ducks for touchdowns.
Yeah, well,
that's one thing that he did. But I think that, let this kid develop. Arch is going to be a pretty good player for Texas. I think he's going to succeed and do very well, and is already being mentioned in the Heisman things and talks. And it's
how that's going to go.
It's very possible that he could do very well down there, but he does have a name. It's part of the family. Archie, Eli, Peyton, Arch. I mean, they're all. And I've always read that the older brother was the better quarterback, but due to injuries couldn't keep on playing the game. So it's there. There.
Cooper Manning actually played as a offensive lineman. He was more of an offensive lineman than he was a quarterback, and he had a spinal problem. He said he was lucky he didn't break it. But you know what they said about Eli Manning when he was at Ole Miss, got into a little bit of trouble, and someone pulled him aside, and I think it may have been Cutcliffe, pulled him aside and said, "Don't be Archie, don't be Peyton, don't be Cooper. Be yourself." And that's when he really started blossoming. Yeah. He led Ole Miss to a lot of wins, including a West title in 2003. And that was the big thing about that. And I will not go into Peyton being rooked out of the Heisman Trophy. I think after 30 years of that, I feel like Charlie Woodson. I don't blame Charlie Woodson, but I blame Lee Corso, who, by the way, is doing his last ESPN Saturday, pregame thing, and which is good riddance. Good riddance.
I don't know. One thing about Corso was entertaining to watch. I mean, whether like him or don't care, either way you feel about it, he was entertaining to watch.
But he had an anti-Tennessee bias.
He sure did. He sure did. And of course, a lot of the commentators and announcers have had that through the years. I mean, you ask how they feel about how people felt about Vern Lundquist, and people didn't like him because he seemed to. People didn't like him. People didn't like Musburger. People didn't like Keith Jackson.
Who's
the guy? Who's the guy that he retired this past year? Not Collingsworth. That's the NFL.
Yeah, I don't recall who it is.
I can't think. He was calling the Tennessee-Alabama game, and he called the kick, that final kick when we won a whirly bird. And
that was a funny. It was a whirly bird.
And he said, when they rushed the field, somebody said something about a big fine. And he said, "Well, they've been saving for it for 13 years."
15 years, yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's when I turned it off."
Well, actually, I thought that was pretty funny, the whirly bird, because it was a whirly bird. It was like, But the thing about it is that listen, you look at Keith Jackson, TA, he will tell you this. He thought Keith Jackson was biased against Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl one year against Miami. And why I watched it, I didn't think Keith Jackson was any more biased than anybody else. He just basically called it as he saw, and that's what the thing it is. Now people will say right now, John Ward, was the best, that sort of thing, and then of course you had. Then you had, Bob Kesling. Okay, excuse me. I forgot who he is for a moment there. I was starting to see it. Bob Kesling, I came in there watching. I said, well, he had his own style. He didn't try to ape John Ward. And, people were saying, he was all right, but he wasn't great. Now they got Mike Keith coming in, and I think Mike Keith's more or less closer to what John Ward was because he has the same type of quality. Of course, you listen to the Titans broadcast; he actually was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So Mike Keith, and of course, that sort of thing. You have to go in there. Mike Keith. They had a story about Mike Keith one time. He was doing the Big Orange Scoreboard in his early days with the Vol Network, and they said it's the next from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. Neyland Stadium. And he figures, he's home free and all that, and he says, "Sonny, hear the speaker calling. There's John Ward. Said, tell Mike Keith it's Neyland Stadium, Neyland." He said because what it is that John Ward asked Neyland himself.
Yeah. Was
it Neyland or Neyland? And Neyland went like this, Neyland like your knee, Neyland like your knee, and he said, so Bear Bryant said this about Neyland. He said, people think I know all about football, but I learned it from General Neyland.
Yeah.
Because he was the only coach that Bear Bryant could never beat. That was the only coach that Bear Bryant could never beat. 5-2. That's 2 ties. But they said it was like that. But, this sort of thing. We do want to, before we go to a break, we do want to come up with something here. The WNBA has required all its teams in the league to put netting in front of the crowd because they're throwing things that I don't even want to tell you about.
Please don't.
I will not even tell you about because basically we do have a decorum here. We do have a decorum, but when you have to do that, then there's something wrong with the fans. They should not be doing. The baseball. You get the bad fans, and you do have them. That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because you have a league that's already struggling in regards to funding, and then you have and I want them to succeed. They certainly have a place out there, and they need to professional basketball. They're exceptional athletes. They need to be able to perform and to be paid. But again.
It's like a few years back when Tennessee was playing Ole Miss at Knoxville and they were throwing mustard bottles out there. I said, the only thing I saw wrong was that they didn't throw hot dogs out there afterwards, You can't have a hot dog. You can't have a hot dog without mustard. So
let them play, pay them. It's
just behave yourselves, fans, please.
My goodness, it's not that hard to be a decent person out there and watch a ball game.
Now, Bradley, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I want you to admit to it. In the Tennessee-Alabama game in 2022, you were the guy at the top of the goalposts as they were toppling down.
if I was the guy at the top of the goalpost, it wouldn't have took 400,000 of them to get it down.
But admit it, you were at the top of the goalpost when it came down.
No, I wasn't. But if I had have been, it would have came down a lot quicker than what it did with them. Oh, wait a minute. Now's a good time to do something. Mm-hmm. Because we talked about high school football. No. And we talked about college football. And if the listeners and the viewers have not noticed in the past several years, we've always talked about our picks. Making our picks, our season prediction.
I know all about your picks.
I have that.
I know all about
I have that right here.
I know all about your picks. I know all about
and it just so happens that I brought my nice trusty ink pen here. So here's what we're going to do. Mike.
This is what Bradley does. He has me to make picks. He puts them in an envelope, and I never see the envelopes ever again. He always claims he wins.
We're going to pick the winners and losers.
I know who's going to lose. It's going to be me because basically because this you call stacking the deck.
Bledsoe at Sequatchie.
Bledsoe.
Whitwell at Bledsoe.
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe at Oneida.
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe at Tellico.
Bledsoe.
York at Bledsoe.
York.
Polk County at Bledsoe.
Bledsoe.
At Marion County.
Marion.
At Grundy.
Bledsoe.
Hosting Huntland.
Bledsoe.
And hosting Monterey.
Bledsoe.
All right, so you have Bledsoe. I picked everything pretty close to the same. I did have us losing against Marion. Defending state champions, I'm a realist, but I have Bledsoe County going 9-1 on the year in regular season, and you have them going 8-2. Now, there is a tiebreaker. Of course, I don't know why, because we picked different. But the final score for the Bledsoe-Sequatchie game.
Bledsoe 24, Sequatchie 16.
24-16. I'm going to go 28-17.
Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. That better show up at the end of the season. Because if it don't,
wait a minute. We're not done.
I think we need to give it to T.A. Smith.
And I'm doing this so they can witness this. We're going to pick Tennessee. Syracuse. Win or loss?
Balls.
ETSU.
Balls.
Georgia.
Tennessee in an upset.
UAB.
Tennessee.
Mississippi State.
Tennessee.
Arkansas.
Tennessee.
Alabama.
Alabama.
At Kentucky.
Balls.
Oklahoma.
Balls.
New Mexico State.
Balls.
At Florida. Oh, the pressure's on.
No, my sister's is a Gator fan. I'm going to pick Vols just to tick her off.
Hosting Vanderbilt.
Vols.
All right. So, you have Tennessee going, well, 11-1. We've only lost to Alabama. I have Tennessee going 10-2, losing to Alabama and to Georgia. Now, we're going to predict the score of the Tennessee-Alabama game.
Okay. Alabama 27, Vols 24. Now we're going to let Ethan
I'm going to say
this so
I'm going to say the Tennessee loses 31-28. by a field goal. I think it's time.
I'm going to
In
tell
order
you
to
something
leave.
right now. We're going to we should let the Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative people keep this.
You've all seen this.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard it live here before 5 o'clock. We have everything picked.
See, he does this every year. You know, he does this just about every year. He puts it in an envelope. I said, well, let's give it to somebody who'll keep it, and they'll just come back there. No. I promise you,
There's no
I'll
need
never
to do
give it
that.
back. And then he claims I lose every year.
It happens. Sorry, I can't help it.
Yeah, hell, you're afraid that I'm more right than wrong. That's what it is. You know, so far. But you watch this guy. He is a conniver. You are a conniver.
No, I'm not.
You're like Lee Corso.
No. No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk some baseball, and then the upcoming NFL football season, and anything else of interest here. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110, Pikeville, Tennessee.
Support small business and shop DunlapMercantile.com.
A good bank has people you can depend on, people who grew up here and can handle today's issues and growing technology. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, this is the way we've served the community for almost 50 years. Ready to help you in person, online, and on our app whenever you need it. Choose the bank that cares about you. Citizens Tri-County Bank, the only community bank you'll ever need.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to get down to the baseball season. Of course, it was just winding down. Of course, the playoffs, and some teams who are hot and some teams who are not, like the Atlanta Braves. Of course, the big story the past couple of weeks was the battle at Bristol. Between the Speedway Spectacular between Cincinnati and Atlanta. The game had been delayed a day because of the bad weather, but unfortunately, it ended up being a good game for 85,000 fans, a record to see a pro baseball game. First game in the state of Tennessee, Major League Baseball. And Atlanta won 4-2 over the Cincinnati Redlegs.
That's reason enough to chop. I mean, we hadn't had reasons to do that very much this year. Atlanta has kind of tanked the season with injuries and things of that nature, and not able to play up to par, and well under 500 for the year. And it's not looking like they're going to even be in contention for the wild card unless something drastic happens in the last half of the second half of the season. They're 5-5 of the last 10. I mean, they did sweep. They did win 3 in a row against Miami, and then comes in and get the possum hump put on them against New York last night, 13-5. Mets are second in the East right now, behind Philadelphia. They're about 6 games back, I believe, 5 games back.
Bradley.
And they're almost dead last in everything. Braves are really struggling, but at least could be worse. Colorado's the worst team in the league. They've won 31 games. The Braves themselves have won 51, so we're a little ahead of them. But odds are right now. I mean, your top 4 teams, as far as odds are concerned, is the Dodgers, Phillies, Brewers, and surprisingly the Seattle Mariners. That's the three best teams right now, odds wise, and you can't leave out Detroit, odds wise, to win the World Series altogether. And the Yankees and Mets continue to fall down that list, even though they are performing decently well. They continue to slide. Toronto's actually on top in the East right now over the New York Yankees, over the Boston, and then the Yankees in 3rd place. So teams that were expected to finish lower are finishing high. Teams that are expected to finish high are finishing low. So that's just baseball. That's just baseball, and that happens. I did notice one stat today as I was looking. The wins leaders in pitching right now. Max Fried of the New York Yankees is up there toward the top, and he was a former Brave, and I drew a little sad face on my paper.
Oh, what a shame.
And then I looked at batting leaders as far as batting average, and of course a former Brave is on that as well. Freddie Freeman gets another little sad face because we could have still had both of those if Liberty Media would pay the money.
I would say probably the positive thing out of the Braves slumping season is that I don't get to see that Florida State chop.
Yeah, I've not really had to get it out very much. The bursitis in my elbow from the World Series season a couple seasons ago has finally subsided, and it's actually healed up pretty good because I've not had a reason to chop this year.
And if you believe that, then the possum womp is actually a word.
Yeah. Well, the Braves are getting the possum womp put on them right now. They're well under 500. Matter of fact, they're 18 games out of first place in the East. Only one below them is Washington, and they're 22 games out of first place. But when you come to the wild card, the Braves are 13 games out of the wild card mix. So, again, a lot of ground's got to be made up. And by some long shot that they hit a hot streak and start winning ball games, that's the only thing that's going to get the Braves in the postseason. If they don't do something, I mean, they're not going to make it, and it's not looking good for my Braves. But I'm still a Braves fan. I'm still going to be cheering for them. But it's a down year right now, and
when the Dodgers win another World Series title, we're going to get Howard in here. We've tried to get him in here last year, but too many things went on. So he can brag upon the Dodgers, Dodgems to you how great they are. They're better than the Braves, and of course, one of the things there was a legend in baseball who passed away recently. He played with the Chicago Cubs, and he died at 63 cancer. I think. I'm trying to remember his name.
Ryne Sandberg.
Ryne Sandberg, yeah, okay.
My favorite player.
Ryne Sandberg, and of course, even those who don't follow baseball know who Ryne Sandberg is. He died of cancer, and he's in his 60s, and our condolences are off to his family.
When I was growing up, Mike, there's two things you could count on.
Mm-hmm.
If the Braves were not playing on TBS when you got home from school, then the Cubs were playing on Channel 7, WGN, every single day when you got home from school. And Papa was watching one of the two. Now, as I mentioned, I've been a lifelong Braves fan. Tried and true. I've never cheered for another baseball team except the Braves. But, oddly enough, as I was growing up, two of the best players and my favorite two players were not Braves. My favorite player was Ryne Sandberg and Cal Ripken Jr. And a lot of people idolized those two guys. And
they were very good at what they did.
They were very good. I've got to see both of them in the Legends Parade up in Cooperstown. Seen their enshrinement. Seen them, just several feet away from them. Being in the presence of legends like that is amazing. And I still hold high regard to those two guys, even though Sandberg has gone. I still feel that they're my favorite players. and that's what I grew up watching. That's what I grew up, idolizing them. Even though I was a Braves fan, which is odd. But, if I wasn't watching the Braves at my mom and papa's, you can bet the Cubs were on.
Yeah.
And that's a little history right there. And that's one of the reasons why I really like Dansby Swanson, because he told the story of him growing up, and it was very similar to what I just said.
Yeah.
He grew up around Atlanta, but if the Braves weren't playing, his grandfather was watching the Cubs.
Absolutely.
And he won a championship with Atlanta, and now plays with the Cubs and wants to win one there. And I hated to see him go from the Braves, but after hearing that story, I can relate to that, and I can see some sentimentalness in that thought process. And but again, hopefully next year my chopper will come back out,
Lord.
and it'll be in full swing. That's what I hope anyway.
Okay, well, of course, one of the players who passed away this year was Bob Uecker. Of course, he is the bench which he did all his beer commercials from is in Cooperstown, I believe. Anyway, well, he got the name Mr. Baseball from Johnny Carson. He would often appear on Johnny Carson's show in the 1970s and 80s, and he would tell very amusing stories about himself. Well, Carson had one night, he said, "Hey, I have some pictures. I want to show you some photos, and I want you to comment on them." Well, of course, he commented one where they're celebrating a championship and all that, and he said, "Well, they're giving me a bath," He would say stuff like that. Another one was where he actually cost him some money. And what it was is that, of course, you remember the team pictures they always take, everybody in uniform, to sit there. Well, they took the picture when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, okay, this was back in the 60s. Okay. And they took the picture. They prepared it for press release and put into the game programs and all that, and then they spotted it. And what it was him and another player, a pitcher. I don't remember his name, and they were next to each other. And you know what was wrong with it? They were both smiling and holding hands, and it was a joke. And they had to redo the pictures, and the Louis Cardinals fined them $250 a piece. it was hilarious, they're smiling and all that like it's a big joke and all that. And it tells you how much of a humor sense of humor he had. One where he had a tuba. He was playing a tuba. He said what it was. The story was that they had that back then. They had bands, local bands, play at the games.
Yeah.
Okay, he picks up the tuba and starts playing it. And of course, the fans are sort of like staring at him like this, all that. And he claims he was catching fly balls with it. That's all he claimed.
Euchre was more of a comedian than he was a player.
He was a catcher primarily. But what it was is that they had another one where he said, "This is how you catch a grounder." He said, "You let it stop rolling, and you pick it up and throw it." he would do things like that, that sort of thing. And he would tell all these stories. He said he would know when he was traded, when he would go to the dugout after a game, and he said, "I'm sorry, sir, but the visitors aren't allowed in the dugout." he would tell stories like that all the time. And he was a great comedian. He ended up being a play-by-play announcer for his team from Milwaukee for many years, and he also was an actor. Major League, he was hilarious.
Just a bit outside.
Just the outside. It would be. And he said he didn't know after that every baseball announcer used it just to the outside, sort of way to honor him. And then, of course, I told the story before how after they were tearing down the old Milwaukee Brewers stadium, and they had a commercial where they said, "I'm sorry, sir, your seat is up there and it's way up in the nosebleed section." And he's carrying on like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's like he's the big shot, and they gave him the seat which he sat in for the beer commercial. And he said he was so touched by it. And he gave a very long speech how he was touched by the whole thing and all that. I think it's at Cooperstown now, but that tells you what Bob Uecker was like. He was the DH. For many teams, the designated heckler. He would heckle the umpires until they threw him out. And he was throwing out more games than he played in. But amazing what umpires will do sometimes. When they get heckled or sort of thing, and they actually threw out the organ player at one game because they played Three Blind Mice, and he said, get rid of the organ player, shut down the market, shut down the speakers. They threw them out, and then legally they could do that. Of course, we saw the one where you and I saw the one where we had the baseball player that was blowing on the ball to go into foul territory.
Yeah.
And it was Kansas City and some other team. The umpires gave the guy a base hit.
Yeah.
But he was like going. It was funny to watch. But, you see all these things that, he didn't touch the ball. He was just blowing it.
Crazy things happen on the baseball field.
Everything happens on the baseball field. But, baseball, of course, will be in October. Of course, will be the playoffs. And then, of course, have the World Series. We're certainly almost sure that I will not be there this year. And I know Bradley will be in his chair crying. And all that. Of course, NFL football coming up in a few weeks. It'll be after Labor Day before they start. They're already playing preseason games. Of course, Dallas has acquired quarterback Joe Milton, and he's apparently he has shown that he has the capability of playing. Could be a starter.
I don't think he's going to start over Dak, but you never can tell. If Dak gets hurt, he can step up. I'm going to make it short and sweet on the NFL. If you're looking who to look for this year, or wondering who to watch, Buffalo, Kansas City, out of the AFC, San Francisco, Philadelphia, out of the NFC, and a sleeper team for the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens. You got to watch out for them. And a sleeper team for the NFC, the Detroit Lions.
What about Tennessee and Atlanta?
Tennessee's not going to do very well. Atlanta's probably going to win the South, but I don't think they'll go very far in the playoffs. They got a good shot to make it because they win their division. But I don't think they'll go much further because the team to beat in the NFC is going to be the Niners or the Eagles again. And again, that sleeper team, the Detroit Lions, you always got to account for them. They've really come up the past few years, and they're just waiting to bust it wide open. So it could be their year. You never can tell. But you have to wait and see.
There's one thing you're not going to see in the NFL anymore. You're not going to see a perfect team. You're not going to see a team that's won every game. Not since Miami.
No.
And they only played 12 regular season games.
Right.
And 14 total. And of course, that was the day that they basically only had a few teams in the playoffs in those days. So you're not going to see that. I think the Bears of Chicago came closest. They lost one game, then we won the Super Bowl.
The Patriots lost one game.
Yeah, the Patriots lost one game.
I think it was 2017, 18, something like that.
And that sort of thing. But, you look at this thing. But, let's be honest right now. They spend oodles and oodles of money on facilities, on players, on this thing. You look at the high school football field down in Georgia, $63 million, I think. Like, if we could get $6 million of that and put it in here, think what that field would look like. And all that. I mean, high school football field with a big screen TV on that video screen.
The only one I know of that's got one of those around here is Alcoa.
Alcoa. They got that from Purdue.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a screen down in North Jackson, Alabama, at their high school, but it's a smaller one. I don't know of anywhere else that's got a jumbotron except Alcoa. But maybe I've just not been to the right place.
I don't know. You look at all these things. Squatch County's got artificial turf, and I know Bledsoe certainly is not going to have artificial turf anytime soon. I don't think, and all that, unless somebody's got a couple of $1 million to shell out. And I know. Yeah, you got your bonus this year. Why don't you try shelling out a couple $100?
I thought about it, but I've already given it to charity.
Yeah, your left pocket.
Yeah.
You heard that one before, and that sort of thing. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to do it for us here. And, of course, it's football time in Bledsoe County in 9 days. As Bledsoe County will be at Dunlap. We'll have the broadcast of that game for you here on WAT with pregame at 6:30 p.m. with kickoff at 7 p.m. as the Warriors, of course. You can designate the 2025 season the color purple because there's so many teams that's got the purple orange, and of course Bledsoe's
Everybody in our region is purple but us.
but of course Bledsoe's going to make them black and blue, but probably by the time they get through with them.
We hope.
We hope anyway. But anyway, Bledsoe County will be facing off against Sequatchie County in a renewal of the border rivalry. Of course, Bledsoe County won that 23-13 last year on John Boynton night after honoring the Warrior legend. And of course, we will of course have the football all throughout the season for the next 10 weeks and into the playoffs, and hopefully to the state title game in December. So, Bradley, you have some
As always, I have the final words.
Yeah, well, start at the end. Start at the end.
Shut this thing down with my traditional go blue,
Start at the end.
go Braves, and go Big Orange.
And so, again, football time in Bledsoe County, 9 days away. Bledsoe at Sequatchie County. We'd like the fans to show up for that. 6:30 p.m. pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff here on WATAM to Pikeville, Tennessee. And of course, we wish them the best. And also Tennessee football on Labor Day weekend, August 30th, against Syracuse in Atlanta. So again, we bid you farewell. We'll see you again on the next episode of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18, WATA 1110. Good day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative in the Sequatchie Valley.